That's a no. How do I introduce this, Alex? I know what. So the YENA panel is going to tie together our three themes for the day, and Alex is going to tell you all about that. Thank you very much, Tony. I think the best place to start, really, is just a little bit of acknowledgement, to be honest, to Tony, Marina, and the full team here at FutureSync for putting on such a fantastic event for us all today. So if you could all put your hands together. Thank you very much, Tony. I think it's testament to the amount of business and technology that's going on right here in this region in the southwest, that we have so many people still sat here in the room. You've not got bored just yet and run home or to the pub where I believe we're congregating afterwards. What I'd quite like to do, as Tony was saying, is kind of wrap up all three of the tracks that we've had today: business, creativity and software, and put that into a nice panel discussion between us here. Our three panelists that we've got today, I'll let them introduce themselves shortly. We'll be talking about what is it that makes the blueprint for a successful technology and business cluster. So, Ash.
So, I'm Ash, and I'm the founder of YENA. Thanks for letting us partner with this section. Yeah, I'm the founder of YENA. YENA is an accelerator by subscription, so our mission is to democratize high-level business support for anyone, anywhere, without the need to be vetted or taken out of an application process or have to rely on public support. So that's what we do. The rest of the time I'm an advisor for a number of startups, including Elliot's, which is great. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hiya, I'm Carly Britton, and I'm the Head of Client Services at a company called PHILLIPS based in Plymouth, and we build online streaming solutions for major broadcasters and parliamentary organisations. Some of our clients include UK Parliament, European Parliament, HBO and Canal Digital. And I also co-founded Babbel, which is a female travelling app, and I also run a hashtag Girl Code, which is a free coding club for girls aged 8 to 14 in the area.
Thank you. My name is Elliot, and I founded a service which ideally addresses the issue that in terms of our climate worry and feeling helpless to addressing it. This is a subscription service that puts a few pounds a month into really high value climate projects, and you get to grow your own forest, that kind of thing. We're in the middle of it, but it's in the last year, so it's coming along.
And yes, I'm Alex Printer, founder of Curated Commerce alongside my co-founder, who's based in Bath. We style the stores, so we use AI to stylistically curate outfits as a new way to revolutionise retail at the very start of our journey on that one. But without further ado, let's get into the conversation. This is a conversation which I think has really been sparked by probably Plymouth's geographical location, the fact that we're all sat here and gathered here for this event today, and we're also at the same event 2 years ago, and some points that were raised then that I'd really love to follow on that discussion today around the fact that Plymouth is in a slightly more geographically isolated location in the country. Should that have an impact on what happens and what's created here, and what impact we have on the world? So yeah, I'd like to just start off with the first question, which is can connectivity through technology completely replace the need for physical meetings in business? Elliot, do you want to start off?
Yeah, I'm a big advocate of physical, like just talking, and I essentially moved down from London to Bristol about a year and a half ago, and working remotely for my London company, and so I've been through a lot of that remote working aspect, but and you know, Slack and video quality is darn good, but you just got to see the people that you're working with. You've got to be there. You've got to make sure you meet up with them. So I'm a major fan of. I was like, you know, I've been speaking to people on some Slack groups for ages. I thought, what if I just give them a, you know, Slack? Should we just chat on the phone? And like just friendships and humanity really kind of helps blossom, especially when I'm fish out of water. I just moved down basically. So yeah, I would go very human, physical, for instance, but you know, stitched in with just the rest of the technology just makes it all happen. I'd otherwise not be able to work with my current employer.
I thought a really interesting point that was made earlier on in one of the talks today by Julia at Engine House was that they built their partnership for their recent project on passion. And perhaps something that you were sort of touching on there is like by having that sort of connection there, great things can happen. Would you tend to agree with that, Ash?
I think the short answer is not yet. No, generally, because anyone in this room, probably everybody, that's tried to make a Skype call over video has probably been very frustrated with the fact that it's lagged a lot. We have a gigabit connection in our office, so I'm an imposter here at the moment. We're based in Bristol, but we run a meetup, one of our Rebel Meetups down here in Plymouth, run by you, and you know, most of our comms is done through technology. We run meetups across 17 cities globally, and some of the hosts I've never met. Abby hasn't. She runs our events here, and so those relationships have to happen. They happen out of necessity, and technology enables that. But it's not surprising to say that the relationships that we have that are also physical and in person are generally stronger, and it's just because there's a nature of body language that comes across in these relationships, and you can build an emotional connection and friendships, just like Elliot said. So I think the answer is not yet, until kind of got slightly accidentally philosophical earlier, but I think until the digital experience is indistinguishable from the physical experience, the answer will still be not yet. I think the singularity is like 2042, so at that point, maybe, Ready Player One, here we come, but until then, physical is always going to win out, I think, if you can do it.
And Carly?
Yeah, so I definitely agree. Physical is better. You can form the relationships with your clients, with your workers. However, for us, you know, all of our clients most of our clients are across Europe. We don't have the luxury of seeing them as often as we'd like to, and they're very busy as well. They're big clients. They're busy. They haven't got time to necessarily see us. So we have no option. We don't, you know, we do see them, but it's very rarely, or at conferences and that sort of thing. So I agree, not yet, and I agree in person is better, but remote a lot for us.
Okay, thank you. So another interesting point that I wanted to bring up really was about increasing awareness, and it was something that Chris Bump was talking about earlier in his talk about building your audience, and you know, the more people that you speak to, the more that you hear of, the more that they hear of you. So how can we increase awareness of the information that leads to these opportunities in business? Ash, do you want to kick off there?
Sure, I mean, I think you just got to do the work to start with. One, do you care? If it's not your vocation to raise the awareness of these opportunities, then cool, leave it to somebody else, but somebody should be doing it. I felt like it was our responsibility to do that, so we started to do it, and we did it across, actually, arguably, too wide a range of people to start with. We couldn't get public funding for it. It's fairly grantable business, and the fact that we're trying to help the next generation of startups start a business. But we couldn't get money, and it's because we were trying to connect too many different types of people. But we believed that actually the opportunities come in connecting all those people. The only way to connect with all those people is to use technology and to raise awareness digitally of that, unless I go to every postcode in every part of the country to have those in-person conversations. So the way we did that is through content, is through distributed meetups, like the one that we run in Plymouth, And the combination of physical that brings and the digital that our content and our online community brings allows the awareness to drive through this kind of network effect. The more that talk about it, the more that talk about it. It's great for us as a commercial business model because the more people that get involved, the more people want to get involved. Our sponsors grow, our member numbers grow, and so just frankly do the work. And you know, there are other aspects and nuances, but the snowball should start.
Carly,
Yes, so for us it's the quality of the client as opposed to the quantity of clients that we have. So we have to go to a lot of networking, to, you know, exhibitions is the main place where we're mixing with people and meeting the right people. We have got a really good social media presence now. However, a lot of the people that are engaging with us on social media are clients that we already have. Like I said previously, our clients are quite big, so they wouldn't necessarily see us, or we wouldn't stand out to them on social media or through the normal marketing channels. So back to the face-to-face thing, we have to be around the right events and mixing with the right people. We get a lot of our work through partnerships and things like that, but face-to-face.
And Elliot, you spoke a little bit earlier to me about raising awareness of sort of where people's money is going beyond, you know, and actually showing them some visuals of, you know, planting trees, etc. That your company is doing there. You know, again, is that more share of information that you're giving to people, and is there sort of new ways now that we can share that information that help us to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. The fact that at the moment, so right now I'm doing this because kind of the competitors that are out there, they're essentially like a charity that you give money to, but then it's into this black void of, you know, it went somewhere, you supported something, but it wasn't brought to life. So in the advent of so much data, and me as a developer, it's great just to kind of bring that all together and make sure that it's felt by everyone who kind of gets behind it and supports it. Which is half of why it's going well, because you can see your forest growing, you can see the variety of tree, how long ago it's planted, and, you know, kind of all the media around it. And we're talking to a company at the moment who plant trees by drone, by shooting saplings into the soil. They've been doing it on some crazy scales already. But when you got that, you got way more data. You got photos of your actual trees, and you can actually see the GPS location too. I don't know. You know, you can see it. It's your darn tree. So technology and what you can do with kind of bringing this all to life is absolutely fantastic. And it's just not seen anywhere else.
Awesome. And just in terms of, while we're digging into like a particular area there with Elliot, I think I'll stay with you for a moment. Something that we've spoken a little bit about between us is, you know, should we be finding our niche? You know, there are certain sort of cities around the UK that, because of the history before we had technology, you know, that places became known for certain things, such as, you know, Manchester, you know, famously known for textiles, and since then there are fashion companies that have sort of located themselves there because of potentially industry expertise. Or, you know, what are your sort of thoughts on that? You know, do we need to be developing a niche for the city?
It's an interesting one. I've seen it emerging in cities, and I don't know, like Berlin, for example, it's just kind of art, graffiti, and it's just kind of been built into how they build products. And, you know, having moved down to Berlin, having moved down to Bristol, I was just like, okay, great, I've got an eco startup. And oh my lordy, everybody else in Bristol sure does have an eco startup. You know, Diamond does, and you know, there's a co-worker space. It's just, you think you're standing out, but in actual fact, you kind of gravitated towards something, whether or not it emerged by design, this niche, or with this kind of like flocking mechanic that I know that like Bristol is where me and my family want to go, and, you know, kind of culturally. Whether that just kind of emerges over time from those kind of like-minded, passionate people. We are kind of tribal, you know, beyond all the tech that we talked about today. There is this kind of like just lovely level of just kind of like clubs in like a positive way.
And Carly, obviously with Babble App, you've got a platform there for conversation between people, which should be sort of breaking down those boundaries, right? You know, would you argue the other way perhaps, or do you tend to agree?
I tend to agree. I think that I think those sort of clusters need to happen organically. I don't think you can force that on an area. I think that you don't want to restrict people from being creative and creating something that's new and innovative. I do think it works really well, and I think if it happens organically, I think it works really well. I think just being around people that are doing similar things to you, I think you can learn off people, you can network with people that have made mistakes or had successes that you can learn from, and I think it's really good, but I do think that it needs to be an organic process and not something that's forced upon people.
Thank you very much. Ash, was there anything that you wanted to sort of add on to that?
Yeah, I think I agree with both of them. It's like people are always supposedly a product of their environment, but the environment is a product of the people that are within it. I think we talk a lot at a meetup at an individual level about this kind of it's quite on trend at the moment. This Japanese philosophy of ikigai, which is that intersection of what you're good at, what you can get paid for, and a bunch of other things. Google it, you'll find it. But that's much harder to do on a city or region basis because the city is a makeup of the people within it, and so there are other factors at play here, like geography and history. Bristol, where we're based, has always been built on an aerospace industry. The airfield, where my family's worked for maybe 3 generations, which I obviously went away from, is now a housing estate, and so we don't have that anymore. But Bristol is now, by numbers, by GDP, I think, the largest tech startup city in the UK, beyond London, because there are smaller numbers, there's more people per capita. And so that's just happened because more people have a liking to start a startup and less of a risk profile to do that. And there's a lower cost of living. So all of these factors are at play. We can't really affect the cost of living on an individual basis, but on an individual basis we can decide to start a company. And if enough people do that, Bristol becomes a startup capital. And so it's a difficult thing unless you decide to start a meetup doing something, and I decide concurrently to start something else just because we want to direct the city in a certain direction. Maybe that can start helping, but it's individuals, basically.
Yeah, I think our business generally is sort of created through providing a solution to a problem, right? You touched on it there. The sort of technology revolution. I know we sort of earlier with Ruby's talk we were talking about, are we in an age of enlightenment? Has that sort of revolution in itself that's occurring, whether we've reached enlightenment or not, created opportunity for boundaries to be broken, for places to re-establish themselves? Carly, do you want to pick that one up?
Sorry, what do you mean?
Do we need to potentially take hold of the sort of new opportunities that have come about through technology, and whether that's educating and showing potential clients new solutions that they previously hadn't thought of?
Yeah, definitely. So, do you mean like moulding your business to something that's new and innovative, and is that the kind of thing you mean? And then
helping a business to if you're selling to businesses, can you help to increase their productivity,
yeah,
or
sure. Yeah, definitely. So I think that's really important. I think you should always be doing that as a tech business, going out there and finding the latest technology or creating the latest technology and selling that to your clients, because that's your USP. If no one else is already doing it, then that's your great way in to give them something that they haven't got. But I do think you definitely need to show them why they need it, what they're going to benefit out of it. But yeah, for sure.
And Elliot, would you?
Yeah, absolutely. With new technologies, new opportunities, but it's the alignment of what void are you filling, and whether that's that need to get something from that, and then in combination of the two, is very exciting. You could just be drawing up something which just would have been kind of farcical a few years ago. That's I think why one of the best industries to work with is this kind of ever-evolving, kind of creative set of problems, and it's just fascinating as it continues down this ever-evolving kind of path. And it's kind of there are ebbs and flows of how new technology is telling us we can majorly benefit from VR and AI and 3D printing everything, and then maybe there's like a small gulf of, or a little void afterwards going, yeah, maybe not, but what kind of emerged from these kind of phases is just some really fantastic tools, and yeah, it's the opportunities, isn't it, that it's just the creative canvas to kind of get working on, but then just the final step is, do they actually want this bit, great, Google Chrome supports it, but anyone asking for it, that kind of thing.
Did you want to?
Yeah, I feel like there's a point here to be made around barriers to entry. It sounds like that's what you're talking about, and to me, I think it's fairly obvious. It's kind of old adage now, even though it's fairly recent narrative, which is the fact that we live in a time that's more exciting than any other from a startup capacity, because thanks to technology, arguably anybody with an internet connection can start their own business, and without plugging too much, that's literally why we exist, because people are, I think we did some research recently, and there's a statistic, I believe we're trying to find it for the UK, we can't find it at the moment, something like 62 to 64% of people in the US want to run their own business, 4% actually do. You have to ask yourself a question as to why that is. Is it socio-economic barriers? Is it cultural barriers? Is there a lack of confidence? But all of these things can be overcome. Obviously I'm going to believe that because this is a startup I'm trying to run, but all these things can be overcome with access to internet and access to content, access to communications, access to education, and access to role models as well. People are trying to force, it feels like, certainly localized in Bristol, people are trying to force more women into STEM through Set Squared and the Engine Shed where we're based. And I believe that's more easily done if you highlight the brilliant women in STEM already, because they're inspired by those characters. That's why I got this business, because it was inspired by characters, not because necessarily want to solve the problem that everybody talks about. So, and I know that's a question coming up, so good segue. But, so yeah, barriers to entry, more people can start, so therefore they should give it a go.
Fantastic, yeah. And you're talking about more people should give it a go. There's a big, huge appetite for getting into business. Just by the pure number of people that are sat here in the room today, is there already a huge amount going on? Is it the fact that maybe we don't have this label as a cluster within the city, but through events like these, through use of technology to promote ourselves as something, as a cluster, is that potentially something that could be overlooked? Shall we go?
Sure. So rephrase the question.
Yeah. So is it that rather than it being a case of encouraging more people to get into business or to do business with each other within the region, is it just a case that it is going on, people just don't know about it? Should we be promoting it more?
For sure. I mean, it's kind of a leading question, but it's a good one. Of course you should, I think. I mean, if you believe in something that should be happening within a city, the whole reason this conference is running is because there's obviously some kind of creative and digital agenda for the city that either, the founding team of this conference believe in, if not the ecosystem as a whole does. The room wouldn't be full of people if there wasn't a common agenda or a common belief that should be the case. So yes, the more you put it out there, the more it will happen. It's people's choices as to whether they take that mantle up or not, but all we can do, certainly as an organisation ourselves and as individuals that might believe that should happen more, is just lower that barrier more and more and more, and make it more and more aware. If somebody really wants to start their own thing, they can. Starting a business has never been easy, and it never will be easy. It will just get easier over time. But if we can make it easy enough for the average Joe or whatever you want to call that person to start up, then that's success in my eyes, because up until now it's been somewhat beyond that average Joe point.
Elliot, do you want to pick up?
Yeah, so Ash is with the YENA t-shirt, so when I came down here I met Ash and YENA, and having no actual connections here, and then within a few months, it's crazy. So I had a whole team, a lot of people who were also starting up their own businesses, and so there's this kind of skill swap thing, and intro to intro, and it's been absolutely crazy. So now there's marketing and a video animator and copywriter, and all of these skills just kind of just come together, especially if you have that kind of passion about the thing, and you say, does anyone else have that passion? And then, you just work with those who, raise their hands. And like, you do need tech platforms to kind of open it up and bring these communities together. And like, let's say for this conference, so I see that it's on, I go, oh, right, Plymouth. I hadn't realised that there's a tech centre, in Plymouth. But just by virtue of this conference listing, I think now, like year 2 and 3 of my awareness is, it has brought it together. It has kind of, it has emerged, and you just do it and see who follows you.
Carly, is there anything you want to add there?
Yes, so going back to Ash's comment about the statistics in America with people wanting to start their own businesses, I think, being in Bristol, where there's a lot of startup companies, it's quite easy to be inspired just by meeting someone. You might not be necessarily going to an event, like a YENA event or another networking event, but you might just meet someone or know someone that's done a startup, and I think it's really easy to be influenced by people. And I think that, with Plymouth, there's loads going on, absolute loads. In the 7 years that we've been going with Rialto, I've seen it grow massively, and these sorts of things are amazing, but the more the better. I think it's growing, and I think these sorts of things keep going on, and people just start businesses up. It does snowball eventually. I do think that we are the Southwest and not just Plymouth by ourselves, and I think, with these guys coming down from Bristol, it shows that, but it's all about influence. It's all about being there and showing yourself, and startups wanting to be out there. And for us, we haven't always done a lot of local stuff because we've been busy doing things other places, and we are actively this year trying to be more out there with Rialto, not just because we want to support the local place we live in, which is obviously what we want to do, but also it helps us with recruitment and all those sorts of things. But it's all about inspiring and helping each other.
But you've definitely seen like a huge amount of growth. Like say, even if it's not originally been directly working within the city, it's you've seen growth as whilst you've been running here, right, and based here. And I think that's a really nice point to kind of like start wrapping up on. What I'd like to do is potentially just go into a takeaway that each of you could provide the audience today, and then following that, if anyone in the audience has got questions they'd like to ask the panellists, I think we potentially will have time for 1 or 2 questions as well. Really, if we sort of just work our way down the table, a takeaway thought that people can action to promote the city as a business and tech cluster. Ash?
Nice, always fun to start. So it's something that I talk about fairly often that can be done, because people can't really take Plymouth and drag it by the horns, as it were, so they have to do something on an individual basis, which is, hence your question. And so one of the things I talk about quite often is social currency. Other people might refer to this as favours or leverage, but that feels a bit cheap and tacky to me, or a bit gross. So social currency is what I operate on, and that's just literally unconditional giving to people. What that's done for me personally is help me build a business that's been bootstrapped from the ground up to a point where now we've got arguably lots of leverage or social currency. But what it's also helped do is it's helped bring opportunities into the city where we are in Bristol, and Elliot's already referred to one today where, he came from London, wanted to meet some people, so I connected him to people in the cluster. Now, what that does for the cluster is it connects it more, and it connects it to people that are new to the city and starts to create connections down the motorway and up and across to all the people that Elliot knows from all the people that are connected in Bristol. That's awesome. It also helps me because my social currency increases, and so Elliot, whether he likes it or not, or knows it or not, or whether I even know it or not, feels annoying to me, and that's going to come back to me commercially or emotionally or in some way, shape or form. Some people might call it karma, but it's just logic. So the one thing I would say to most people to take away today is to go in, and it sounds quite altruistic, but now you know there's a selfish angle to it, go and do something for somebody, not only in your city, but connect somebody outside your city to somebody in your city that will be beneficial to not only that person and that person, but to you. If you can do that, and you can do that once a day, every day for a year, you not only create a great network for yourself, but you're also helping the city at the same time.
So in helping others to connect, you're also, by sort of like, default, helping yourself to connect, and before you know it, that kind of web has been spun. Carly?
Yes, so one of the main reasons Rialto has grown to the company it is today is through partnerships. So we've had some really solid partnerships, and you know, with having a partnership, it's a two-way thing. You're both winning. So you know, we win some work and we use our partner's product in our solution, and vice versa. And I think for us, we've had partners that have been across Europe, and we've had local partners. But I think that having local partners is really important if you can, because you know, this is what's going to develop a cluster, because you know, we've got to support each other locally. And so my takeaway is, if you're running a startup, partnerships are so important. Use other people and use them locally.
So again, it's that sort of like ethical and moral piece coming in that we were talking about this morning as well. Thank you. And Elliot?
Yeah, I mean, supporting local is just, you know, just as you were saying, Carly and Ash, also with the just getting people together and like seeing them, talking through it. You know, that's a major part of it. But another side has been Slack. You know, if you're a tech or design, or I don't know, like a maker, you know, through, I don't know, if there's like a Plymouth makers Slack thing, if there isn't, then it just takes a second to set up, and you just slowly but surely just aggregate and go, oh yeah, no, there's a place for us to kind of all, you know, gather together, and just, you know, like this conference being on, it kind of draws a line in the sand, saying, you know, like, we are, you know, a tech city, and when you create I don't know, it just sounds like, you know, so small, but like a Slack group for such and such, you draw a line in the sand. You say, like, you know, we are a hub here, and you know, look at us, and it might not be obvious initially, but it can emerge. Yes, I implore you to do that.
I think that's a really nice point to end on. Can we have a round of applause for the panellists, please? Thank you guys for coming down. Tony, have we got a few minutes that we could just take a few questions?
I reckon we can squeeze about 5 minutes out.
Yeah? Alright. Are you guys up for 5 minutes worth of questioning?
You may have a choice.
Has anyone got any questions that sort of from the conversation we've just had there, or anything else that you'd like to ask someone on the panel? Everyone's very keen to get to the pub.
You've dazzled them with awesomeness. So I do have one question. It might be something that has already been touched on while I was out of the room. But is there one key learning from the way Bristol's hub has developed that we could take and apply in this context, and not in the broader sense of it, but from an event and a grassroots way of working?
I think one of the things that I would have added to my extra takeaways, you said one, so I could only limit it. So the other thing is around the confidence about your own city's identity. We have a constantly rising house cost in the city now, because everybody from London wants to move there, because it's just London but less angry. And that's awesome, because we're just known for being way more friendly. You can walk down the street, make eye contact with somebody, and they won't get offended. And that's great, but you're also, you know, 10 minutes from greenery, you're 10 minutes from water, but you guys are 10 minutes from the actual seaside. And so there's something there that we don't have, that you have, that London certainly doesn't really, and that's something that can be definitely jumped upon. If you're in, what is it, you said marine technology, then that's something that there are some really great, cool emerging companies that are raising lots of money in that space, and it's something that I don't see personally from someone who's just, you know, an hour or two on the train, see that coming out in the communications from the city. So maybe talking about that. And it's just a pure confidence, I think, over the identity of the city and how you can stick your flag in the sand, as it were.
Good takeaway. Any more questions for the panelists? No? Should we go to the pub and feed minutes earlier? Brilliant. Can we get a huge round of applause for our YENA panel, please? Before you run off, where can people get more of your amazing, silky smooth event hosting skills on display?
That's a real compliment, seeing as you've recently been one of our fireside chat interviewees. If you come to Facebook, you've got the Plymouth Young Entrepreneurs Group, where we regularly discuss events that are going on around startups, business, etc., in and around the city. Obviously, you can go to the at YENA Plymouth Twitter page for updates on YENA events that are running locally. At Join YENA for now, for sort of wider reaching YENA events. Any other places people can go to that you want to add?
Well, I was just sort of thinking if it resonated with anyone else in the room about what I'm working on, offset.earth, is the domain address, offset.earth. Just at the moment, just finding out anyone else is just like really motivated to shaping it and contributing it. It's been really fantastic, more than ever.
And thanks again, Tony, for putting on this event. Raising awareness of what is going on locally.
My pleasure. Round of applause for the panelists again, please.